Imagine the beginning of a journey that pierces through layers of time, revealing before your eyes a vast, magnificent and mysterious landscape where the sun is said to dance on gilded surfaces and the wind carries the whispers of forgotten gods. Dear travelers of history and the pulsing realm of legends, I invite you to immerse yourselves in the secrets of a lost civilization, known across the Great Plains of North America as Quivira. Though time has spun its web of silence over it, the echo of this golden citadel still resonates among the tales of treasure seekers and scholarly explorers. Let us allow our imagination to carry us back centuries, to a place where a city once promised unimaginable riches and a thriving culture, only to disappear without a trace from the certain annals of history as enigmatically as it first emerged. Envision a morning sky of orange hues stretching over the endless horizons of the prairies. An army of grass, swaying in the wind, spans from one edge of the firmament to the other. Behind this tranquil scene, a tremor of excitement seizes us. It is as though the earth itself beckons us to uncover its secrets. Legend and reality intertwine, offering a breathtaking spectacle. Against this vast backdrop, ancient chroniclers noted the existence of a diligent, refined people whose temples were said to be draped in gold and whose granaries overflowed. We stand at the gates of Quivira, a place some regard as a metaphor for humanity's everlasting dream of discovering ultimate prosperity, while others firmly believe it was a sophisticated center of civilization, far ahead of its time in infrastructure and knowledge. In this documentary, we shall be guided by the torch of curiosity. We will begin by exploring the historical and cultural milieu in which Quivira left its mark. We will reconstruct both its distant past and the legendary charm that continues centuries later to fascinate adventurers and researchers alike. Prepare to feel the thrill of discovery as we discuss the founding of this city and the leaders who governed it. Then, we will delve into the realm of myths and legends, sifting through stories passed down by word of mouth and through the elusive chronicles of Spanish explorers. We will trace the trade routes that shaped its thriving economy, which is said to have turned Quivira into a pivotal hub of the Great Plains. But in every tale of glory lies a fundamental question. How could a city so grand, inspiring so many expeditions and investigations, vanish almost without a trace? We will navigate all theories of its collapse, ranging from natural disasters and epidemics to invasions by rival tribes or a gradual economic decline. Finally, we will end by examining its legacy, reminding ourselves that, although it may no longer stand in its original form, Quivira continues to captivate us, encouraging our own inner quests. Just as every legendary city sparks a passion for the unknown, so too will Quivira's story leave us with a flutter in our hearts and a longing to delve deeper into the past. Venturing into an understanding of Quivira, we face the major challenge of a lack of clear historical records. Still, there are fragments from various sources that compose an intriguing mosaic. The chronicles of European explorers, particularly the Spanish of the 16th and 17th centuries, describe a distant land, rich in resources and populated by tribes rumored to possess astonishing treasures. Those who heard of Quivira often embarked on arduous expeditions, driven by the desire to find these fabled golden cities. To establish a timeline, we need to journey back a little, In the mid-16th century, Spanish conquistadors, including Francisco Vázquez de Coronado, received accounts of wealthy cities lying beyond the regions they already knew. Enticed by the vision of a new El Dorado in the heart of North America, these explorers led their troops through deserts and barren stretches, then across the endless prairies, hoping one day to glimpse golden towers shining in the distance. In their reports, a single name echoed with tantalizing promise: Quivira. Although Spanish sources provide few details about Quivira's social structure, we can surmise that it rested upon a hierarchical leadership, perhaps a ruler or a group of rulers combining military and spiritual authority. It is possible these leaders initiated the construction of monuments and sanctuaries dedicated to the deities of the tribe, while also overseeing the management of resources, particularly food and water, both vital elements in those times. Modern historians also speculate that Quivira might not have been a single compact city, but rather a network of prosperous settlements, united by a shared identity and trade exchanges with neighboring tribes. This theory adds a layer of complexity to our image. We are not simply talking about one fortress, but a cultural region inhabited by a sedentary agrarian population well adapted to the harsh conditions of the Great Plains. Despite the difficult climate, it appears the people of Quivira managed to develop a rudimentary irrigation system and cultivate grains, vegetables, and fruits. Later accounts also emphasize how Quivira may have been a pivotal point in regional trade routes. Tribes from colder northern areas and those from the south would meet here to trade furs, salt, minerals, ornaments, and even textiles. In other words, Quivira might have been a genuine center of exchange among diverse native peoples, an aspect that enhanced its influence and gave it a certain prestige. This in turn has led some to believe that, along with their economic prosperity, Quivira's inhabitants and leaders might have had access to exceptional resources such as gold and silver, though the true nature of their material wealth remains shrouded in mystery to this day. Beyond scattered reports, Quivira persisted in local folklore and in stories recounted by indigenous tribes across multiple generations. Rumor has it that at the very heart of the city stood a temple dedicated to the sun, with walls and pillars clad in a shimmering metal. Some claimed it was pure gold, others believed it might have been brass or polished copper. In the collective imagination, however, the vision evolved into a sacred sanctuary that attracted the blessing of the sun upon the land, ensuring abundant harvests year after year. Legends also speak of protective gods watching over Quivira. It was said they demanded grandiose rituals and elaborate ceremonies, during which the tribe's priests would call upon the spirits of nature to shield their crops from drought and ward off enemies. Occasionally, these ceremonies took place at night under the light of the moon and sacred fires, with the sound of drums and flutes echoing across the plains, creating an atmosphere of mysticism and communion with the unseen forces of the universe. Parallel to these narratives, Quivira's local mythology also resonates with tales of curses and omens. According to legend, when the city's rulers became too self-assured and began to exploit nature's riches, the gods sent warnings in the form of great storms or locust invasions. Initially dismissed, these signals were actually foreshadowing that prosperity can be fleeting, and that the balance with nature and sacred powers must not be broken without consequences. For those who examine these stories in retrospect, such accounts are often viewed as metaphors for the dangers of pride and greed, which can lead to the downfall of all that has been built. It is important to note that Europeans, fueled by insatiable desire, embellished these legends even further. Their relentless pursuit of golden cities and precious stones led the conquistadors to magnify every hint they encountered. Consequently, Quivira took on a sort of holy grail aura in North America, a promised land lacking nothing, its soil itself potentially hiding unexploited gold deposits. Yet, as we well know, historical reality and mythology frequently merge into a narrative that defies the logic of time, and Quivira thus became a symbol of hope, human ambition, and ultimate disillusionment. Setting legends aside for a moment, let us focus on the more concrete aspects of Quivira's economy and society, as inferred from various hypotheses and historical fragments. One of the most plausible theories suggests that Quivira's population survived on well-organized agriculture and small-scale animal husbandry. Living in an area marked by hot summers and harsh winters, agricultural success required irrigation techniques and deep knowledge of natural cycles. There are indications that the inhabitants of Quivira built simple canals to divert water from nearby rivers, possibly the Arkansas River or other smaller streams. These channels would have enabled the collection and distribution of water for essential crops like corn, beans, squash, and perhaps certain grains adapted to the climate. They may have also employed crop rotation strategies to maintain soil fertility. If these practices indeed existed, then Quivira can rightly be considered an agricultural success story in a region where nature is anything but generous. From a social standpoint, some researchers propose that Quivira functioned as a confederation of tribes or clans, each with a defined role in the community's overall governance. Nobles, or tribal leaders, likely held control over resources and major decisions, while priests and healers occupied a particularly important position as intermediaries between the physical world and the spiritual. Meanwhile, groups of artisans and craftsmen oversaw the production of tools, pottery, jewelry, and other items that supported both daily life and religious ceremonies. Commercial interactions with neighboring tribes and distant groups would have been another key factor in Quivira's prosperity. Stories speak of regular bartering events, akin to public fairs, where grains, animals, salt, and possibly luxury goods, such as freshwater pearls or copper ornaments, were exchanged. This trading network strengthened social cohesion, but also thrust Quivira into the limelight, attracting other peoples eager to gain either goods or military control over what appeared to be a region of strategic importance and promised riches. Perhaps Quivira's greatest achievement, if oral history fragments are to be believed, was its capacity to maintain a relative balance between the ever-increasing demands of society and the natural resources available. In a region plagued by unpredictable rainfall and harsh winds that could threaten crops, such stability reflects a high level of organization, knowledge, and adaptability to the environment. Although the image of Quivira as a golden kingdom may be largely an exaggeration, one thing remains certain. There once existed a prosperous, cohesive settlement in this region. Yet, as with many ancient cultures, Its fate lies in shadows and speculation. What factors led to the disappearance of Quivira? One initial theory points to climatic changes. Prolonged drought cycles could have severely impacted agriculture, water sources, and the delicate balance between sedentary groups and nomadic hunter-gatherer tribes. As crops failed, the population would have been forced to migrate, moving closer to permanent water supplies or altering their lifestyle, abandoning an urban center for more dispersed tribal structures. A second plausible scenario involves military conflict or external pressure. As rival tribes consolidated their forces, Quivira, with its wealth and strategic location, could have become a coveted prize. Repeated sieges might have weakened the city, prompting its inhabitants either to surrender or to flee. Moreover, the arrival of Spanish conquistadors, even though they never definitively located Quivira, could have indirectly destabilized the region by shaping alliances and hostilities among indigenous tribes. Another factor to consider is the spread of European diseases. History has repeatedly shown that native populations were extremely vulnerable to epidemics such as smallpox, measles, and influenza. Even if Quivira did not experience extensive contact with Spaniards or other colonial powers, trade exchanges or passing travelers could have introduced deadly pathogens. A rapid outbreak of unknown diseases might have decimated the population, making it impossible to sustain a city. Lastly, there is also the idea of a gradual decline in which multiple factors, climate, resources, conflict, and cultural change, converge to undermine Quivira's relevance and strength. Over time, the urban center may have been abandoned in favor of smaller settlements, and collective memory transformed the city into a fabled tale of lost grandeur. Amplified by legends of gold and riches, it is no wonder Quivira has remained steeped in an aura of mystery and allure. Debates over Quivira's exact location, or even its existence as a centralized entity, continue to spark heated discussions among archaeologists and historians. Some argue that Quivira might have been nothing more than a collective name for multiple settlements of native tribes. Others maintain optimism that further excavations will reveal clear evidence of structures, pottery, or inscriptions. Until then, we remain captive to a captivating enigma, with each hypothesis gathering its own supporters. To better grasp the essence of Quivira, let us imagine an ordinary day in this city, before its magic and splendor faded into the meanders of time. The sun rises over the lush expanses, and the inhabitants awaken to begin their labors. A woman opens the door of her humble dwelling, built from hardened adobe, and gazes upon cornfields stretching to the horizon. Men and women head to the farmlands, some armed with rudimentary digging tools, others ready to gather the ripened harvest. Craftsmen and artisans set about their tasks in open-air workshops located in the city center. Hammers clang against metal and potters' wheels spin. Young apprentices strive to replicate their masters' techniques, shaping colorful pottery and meticulously crafted ornaments. Some of these items will be used in religious ceremonies, others will be traded with neighboring tribes. A few streets away, markets and fairs stir to life. Stalls overflow with grains, beans, fruit, textiles, and sometimes exotic merchandise brought by traders from afar. People engage in lively discussions about this year's crop yields, and rumors of expeditions beyond the horizon spread quickly. On street corners, whisperers already mention hostile forces that might be approaching the boundaries, reminding everyone that prosperity often attracts envy. At the city's heart rises a structure that towers over the modest dwellings, a temple perhaps, where prayers and offerings are made to the gods of the sky and earth. Priests in lavish robes prepare for the evening ceremony, when they will implore divine protection for the harvest and for their families. The scent of burning herbs mingles with the beat of drums, filling the air, while children watch with wide, curious eyes as the solemn ritual unfolds. Toward nightfall, the city settles into a calmer rhythm. People gather around fires, sharing the day's events and retelling ancient legends of heroes and gods. Here, oral tradition becomes the catalyst through which younger generations learn about their past and cultural values. In this familial, intimate setting, tales of strangers, soldiers in gleaming armor wielding unfamiliar weapons and speaking strange languages, take on a certain mystique. No one knows when these outsiders might arrive at the city gates, or whether they will be received with trust or fear. It is a unified world, albeit one marked by diverse hierarchies and beliefs. Every individual, from the humblest farmer to the most powerful leader, knows their place and their contribution. Pride in belonging to this community is palpable, and the bond between land and spirituality is not some abstract notion, but a tangible reality lived each day. This is Quivira, alive with vitality and hope, poised on the brink of the great challenges that would soon alter it forever. We cannot discuss Quivira without mentioning the profound influence that the feverish quest for gold had on the Spaniards' imagination. In search of the legendary El Dorado and other similar treasures, conquistadors led their forces northward from Mexico, crossing deserts and mountains. In the writings of Francisco Vázquez de Coronado from the 1540s, there is an explicit reference to Quivira. Yet to their disappointment, they found no towering golden fortresses, only Native American villages with modest homes and fields of corn. This disparity between Spanish expectations and the reality they encountered produced a fascinating paradox. Quivira was recorded as a letdown, lacking the spectacular riches they had anticipated. Yet it persisted in the collective consciousness as a golden city, thanks to the rumors and myths spread afterward. It is possible the explorers exaggerated certain details, either to justify the expense of their expeditions or to keep alive the hope of further investments from wealthy patrons. Despite the letdowns, these expeditions had a significant impact on settlements in the Great Plains. Though there is no conclusive evidence that the Spanish maintained a large military presence in Quivira, their proximity set off a chain of events. Local tribes became aware of the power of firearms and began seeking ways to strengthen their own defensive alliances. Moreover, the demand for certain European goods, knives, iron tools, glass beads, rose, altering the dynamics of the local economy. Each time the Spaniards returned home with tales of extensive northern territories that might harbor treasures, Quivira came back into the limelight. Gradually, however, Spanish interest shifted toward other regions deemed more promising, and Quivira remained merely a question mark on the map of their expeditions. In their wake, Subtle social tensions and transformations lingered in the local communities, along with increased interest from other European nations. French, English, and even Dutch, who also cast curious eyes upon the continent's interior. Perhaps the true mystique of Quivira lies in how its story has endured through rumor, recollection, and humanity's boundless desire to find what is hidden. In the centuries that followed, Quivira continued to appear in writings, predominantly in discussions of the fervent quests for riches in the New World. Even now, some modern adventurers, some armed with metal detectors, dream of uncovering artifacts or even vestiges of this lost city. Though no archaeological discoveries confirm the existence of a golden metropolis, several sites in Kansas, Nebraska, and Oklahoma have revealed evidence of significant pre-Columbian settlements, houses, fire pits, and stone tools. Some researchers have associated these places with Quivira, suggesting that the name may have referred to a cluster of Caddoan or Wichita tribes. Naturally, the debate remains open, and each new find reignites excitement. Symbolically, Quivira remains an illustration of hope and the gulf between myth and reality. Just as Spanish explorers believed they would find towers of gold and magnificent sculptures, so we, in our modern pursuits, search for hidden treasures in various forms, whether in technological progress, scientific breakthroughs, or personal discoveries. Quivira reminds us that the craving for a more prosperous, more wondrous land is a constant feature of the human spirit, reflecting our thirst for knowledge, adventure, and fulfillment. Moreover, this lost city compels us to consider the fragility of any civilization. Behind great achievements in architecture, agriculture, commerce, and art lie finite resources, ecological vulnerabilities, and external threats. In Quivira's case, a single shift in climate, an outbreak of disease, or a military invasion proved sufficient to dissolve what had been painstakingly built over generations. For the region's indigenous tribes, Quivira is also a source of cultural pride and a focal point of identity. Whether it was a confederation of tribes or a more centralized location, Quivira's legacy still resonates in the myths and ceremonies preserved among these communities. Certain tribal dances and seasonal rituals trace their lineage to ancient beliefs that tied the sacredness of the earth to the community's prosperity. And so, esteemed friends of exploration and lovers of the unknown, Quivira's tale leads us to a realm where history and myth intermingle in a mesmerizing dance. On one hand, we have historical fragments, archaeological remains, travel accounts, and scientific hypotheses depicting a people with a flourishing culture adapted to the demanding conditions of the Great Plains. On the other hand, we see the legend of a golden city brimming with resplendent temples and fabulous treasures. A vision that fueled the ambitions and imaginations of countless generations of adventurers. Between these extremes lies Quivira's true magic. It does not matter whether its walls were made of gold or adobe, but rather how a human community thrived in a challenging environment, constructing remarkable social and economic structures and leaving behind a legacy that endures through the centuries. Perhaps Quivira's genuine treasure is the knowledge and example of a community that learned to live in harmony with nature, to innovate, and to prosper through trade, art, and spirituality. And yet, in the end, Quivira remains an open challenge. Despite modern discoveries, we still have not fully unraveled the enigma of its exact location, its true scope, or the definitive reasons for its decline. This mystery continues to spark explorations, inspires new expeditions, and grants Quivira a unique allure. In a world increasingly dominated by technology and swift answers, Quivira stands as a secret corner of our planet, reminding us that the spirit of adventure and the drive to explore are traits that will never be extinguished. Therefore, I invite you all to keep the spark of curiosity alive. After the ceremonial fires burn out and the final drumbeat fades into the night, Quivira still endures. In the story we have just shared, in the dreams of modern treasure hunters, and in the hearts of all who believe in the power and beauty of legend. Like every journey into forgotten civilizations, our voyage closes with a renewed desire to learn more, and with wonder, perhaps even stronger, at how much remains to be discovered in our shared past. Everyone who has followed these accounts to the end now symbolically walks the dusty trails of the prairies, where the sun sets in golden hues and the wind carries echoes centuries old. You may not uncover a chest of gold, but you will have found a valuable lesson about ambition, resilience, faith, and above all, the unending charm of mystery. Thus concludes our documentary, where the past merges with legend, hope encounters reality, and Quivira rises once again, if only for a moment, through the power of our memories and imaginations. Finally, gaze upon those vast horizons. Let your hearts tremble under the immense sky of the Great Plains, where once a people built their city and lived with the conviction that their legacy would stand for all eternity. Perhaps the name Quivira will spread like a rainbow, connecting past and present, reminding us that regardless of place or time, the human spirit is perpetually guided by the dreams of building, learning, and aspiring. With that in mind, I invite you to cherish Quivira's mystery as a shining beacon, reminding us that in every corner of the globe and in every chapter of history, wonders still lie hidden, waiting to be brought to light.